but still I felt that sense of unease, like the drip of cold rain down the back of my neck. I stared out into the darkness and wondered if it was too late to call it off. Uncle Mick should be around the corner. Perhaps if I were to go to him before we got started, I could convince him that we should try again tomorrow night. But no, that was silly. We'd been planning for a week, and I knew time was of the essence. It was possible that the residents of this house would be gone for another night or even a fortnight, but it was just as likely they might return tomorrow and all our work would have been in vain. Besides, we needed money, the sooner the better. Uncle Mick's business had been slow since the war started. We were as patriotic as the next family and, knowing it wasn't exactly cricket to rob houses in wartime, we'd held off as long as possible. But now our coffers, such as they were low. It was time to put scruples aside. Desperate times and all that. So we'd ventured out onto the streets patrolled by watchful bobbies and sharp-eyed air raid wardens. Uncle Mick had allowed me in on this riskier job, one he would normally have done with my cousins, Colm and Toby. That's the way it was now with men away fighting, women stepping up to do the jobs we'd been telling them we were capable of all along. Not that Uncle Mick doubted my capabilities. He had never done that. It was just that his urge to protect me was strong. With the boys gone, however, the time for that was past. I took another look at the house. It was a sturdy Georgian brick residence with tidy hedges and an iron fence surrounding the property, gates at the front and back. It was just the kind of place I'd hoped to live in one day when I was young and romantic-minded. Now it didn't appeal to me. I thought it seemed too formal, too stuffy somehow, with its rooms full of antiques and bric-a-brac. It wasn't a mansion. We didn't go in for the biggest houses, the kind with live-in household staff. Instead, we slipped in and out with no one the wiser until they opened their safe again and discovered things were missing. We were very good at what we did, and we had always been successful. That was what made the uneasy feeling I had tonight all the more distracting. I glanced at my watch, the luminous dial showing me that it was nearly midnight. Uncle Mick would be in place. There was no more time for hesitation. With one last glance up and down the street, I walked casually along the pavement until I reached the edge of the gate. The iron door was slightly ajar, which meant Uncle Mick was ahead of me. I slipped through it and followed the pathway that ran along the side of the house, shielded by the hedges, to the side entrance. Ahead of me, barely discernible in the darkness, I saw a shadow at the doorway and heard the faint sounds of a lock beneath metal instruments. Uncle Mick, when in a law-abiding frame of mind, was a locksmith, and he'd never met a lock that didn't bend to his will. "Ah, there you are, my girl," he said as I approached, "right on time." There was a click as the lock yielded to the hand of a master and the door opened inward. Uncle Mick stood silently in the doorway for a moment, listening for any sounds within the house. Then he beckoned me forward and we went inside. "You didn't see anyone?" he asked as he switched on his torch. That was another benefit of the blackout shades. Normally we would have to stand inside a house waiting for our eyes to adjust to a darker shade of dark. "No," I replied, "though something feels a bit off." "It's the unnatural dark," he said. "The whole city feels like a tomb." "Yes," I agreed, though I didn't think that was what was bothering me. He grinned. "All the better for us, though, eh, Ellie?" "I suppose so." I switched on my own torch and followed him as he led the way from the entry through the tidy kitchen and into the dining room. There we paused for a moment, and I shined my torch across the heavy ornamental furniture, the velvet curtains, the paintings that hung on the walls, and the quality rug upon the